Hi, my name's John Smart and welcome to a short presentation on personal branding. What I'd like to talk to you a little bit about today is 6 steps to set up a solid foundation for your personal brand. Now, personal branding is getting a lot of press at the moment. You're probably hearing about how everyone should have a personal brand. And more importantly, how everyone does have a personal brand. Everything you do is branding. Every time you interact with your customer, every piece of marketing you do is setting up your personal brand. So the importance of setting a very solid foundation for all your marketing by having a great personal brand is what I'd like to tell you about today. So I'm going to go through 6 steps that you can do quite simply to set solid foundations to set up your own personal brand. What you might want to do is just pause this presentation after each slide and make some notes and go through like a little mini course, so at the end of it you've got a great foundation to start your personal branding. So with personal branding, the first question we always get to is, what are your values? More than anything within your business, your personal brand is a reflection of your values. If you set your brand in contradiction to your core values, it'll cause you confusion and conflict with your consumers and yourself, and they'll see through it really quickly. It's really easy to see when somebody's being false. There's some big companies out there, some of these big financial institutions, and their core slogans are things that are really inconsistent, if you like, with the art of making money, which is basically what they're about. But enough of that. Our values are the rules that we run our lives by, and they're the rules that we need to run our businesses by too. They take some time for us to identify sometimes, but that time is time well spent. So think about what your values are and how they fit into a business perspective, and you'll find that the time spent now will reap you rewards in the future. For example, if honesty is one of your top values, then the way that you communicate with your customers should be very clear, very straightforward. A lot of use of white colour, a lot of very clear statements. If it's fun and excitement at the top of your list, you probably don't want to come over with the appearance in your marketing materials of an old school accountant. And it's important that you have a little bit more about your personality in there and what your values are. So a top tip, don't make your values up because you think they're going to look good to your customers. They'll see through it straight away. Be yourself, people by people, and if you are yourself and consistent with your values, then you'll do well. The second thing I'd like you to have a look at is what makes you unique. It's a simple fact that we're all unique from our life experiences, the influences, where we've learned things, how we've seen the world, all goes to create a different story and a different set of influences on all of us. Some areas of our stories will have great appeal to your customers. Sometimes it's good to reveal some of your history, if you like, in order to get better rapport. So review your journey in life so far, making the most of the positives. Treat it something like a hero story, like telling a fairy tale or a story to a child. When there's been adversity, show how you've conquered it, like a hero, like a prince, like a princess, like a character in a book. To get the best results out of it, make sure you formally go through your story and see how what you've been through has developed your personal talents, and how some of them will be useful and interesting to share with your customers. Remember, focus on who you are, not who you aren't or who you might want to be. And don't be shy to recognise your strengths and experiences. I worked with a woman who was a very powerful lady. I saw her as a real role model for energy, for getting things done. And we were talking and she said one of the things that concerned her was she didn't have a college degree. Now, I'd not thought of that. I've never thought of that as part of her makeup. When we went through her story, she had set 2 successful businesses up in different countries. She had brought up a family. She had played sport at an elite level. She had done so many things that you could see brought to that power, that to me quite simply trumped the fact that she didn't go to a university. But it's important that we see that See the positives in what we've done rather than look at things that maybe we haven't got. An amazing lady, an amazing lady. So your task, if you'd like to take this on, is to ask yourself, what makes you unique? And write these things down. Write down those bits about you that make you unique. And here's a tip for you. If you're struggling with this, and some people do, work with a friend. Get them to interview you. Get them to get you to tell your story. And then ask them to retell it as if they were writing up your story for a magazine. The third thing is, how do you want to be perceived? Marketing's a battle of perception. It's not facts. It's an old saying. The perception on how you are in the marketplace is what reality is. Whatever the truth of the matter may be, it's how your consumers judge you, how they perceive you to be. So if you're a real fun individual, but you always deal with your customers in a very serious manner, that's what they're going to take you to be. Show your personality. Don't be scared to do so. But be aware that everything you do will be part of your personal brand. Don't be too light-hearted. If you deal with a serious subject, don't crack too many gags, or people might think you're a joke. Focus on the positives in yourself and look to actively change the perception of people by presenting them with more and more evidence of the positive attributes that you want them to hold for you. So we're not looking to manipulate people, but we are looking at a situation where if you go to a networking meeting, make sure that you're aware of what you want to be putting out there, that you want to be seen as, a positive, go-getting, sharp business person, somebody that comes from a very caring background. But remember, everything you do is branding. Don't half network and get to a point where you start sitting in the corner and discussing how these things don't work or how many times you've got to go to one before you get a customer. Don't let that negativity come into it, because people will take that as part of your personality and part of your personal brand. So again, a little bit of homework. Just think about how you'd like to be perceived. Think of those positive attributes that you'd like to put out there. Next one is, who are your customers? You need to know who your target customer is. Know who the people you want to work with are. It's important that you really spend some time to actually sit down and think about these things. How old are they? What do they read? What do they do for enjoyment? Are they male or female? Does it matter? Is there anything particular about them? Do you have a particular niche, a particular area that you're interested in? What do they do to enjoy themselves? Who are these people? And you need to know who they are so that you can identify them. And then you need to know, and this is really important, what do they want? Because your brand has got to be fixed on making sure that you are answering the wants and needs of your customers. So what do they want? It's an interesting thing to look at as we compete more and more with people on the internet, all of these bits and pieces. It's an interesting phase that we go through, that we don't always think about what our customers actually want. What keeps them awake at night? What are they worrying about? What are the most important things in their lives? These are very, very important things for you to go through on your customers. Make sure you know what they want, and make sure that you answer what they need and what they want in your offer. So what do they think? What do they want? What do they dream of? What keeps them awake at night? And what do they worry about? Spend some time and just ask yourself those questions and write them down. The final thing you need to do to create a brand is actually commit it to paper. Take some action and write it down. You've got the basic elements now to set up a personal brand. But let's try and convert that brand into a phrase that jumps out from you, from the page, and grabs the emotions. And some tips. Incorporate at least one action verb. Keep it short and simple. Make it unique, memorable, and repeatable. And make sure you ring that emotional bell that causes clients and prospects to focus on you and you alone. It's really important that you're able to communicate what your brand is quickly, clearly, and concisely. So as a final task, having done all of these things, I'd like you to dedicate 15 minutes to sit down with a blank sheet of paper and write down quickly 20 catchphrases. Just be creative, don't fine-tune them at the time, and don't overanalyze them at that stage. Once you've done that, leave it overnight and go back to it the next day and pick out the 5 that work best for you, and then fine-tune them and see which one resonates, and that can be your definition of your personal brand. Thank you. My name's John Smart from Your Smart Brand.